This is part one of a video series entitled A Patriot's Responsibilities, which was created in an effort to inform patriotic citizens of some of their responsibilities by virtue of their citizenship in our constitutional republic. The topic covered in this part is Teaching Our Posterity and Others. I hope that you will find the videos informative and helpful as you strive to be the best citizen you can be in our constitutional republic. When God listed the mighty men of valor of Israel, he added a significant observation about the men of Issachar. And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had an understanding of their times, to know what Israel ought to do. Likewise, it is imperative that we, the people, individually and as a nation, be men and women of understanding of our times, and to know what we as individuals, parents, and a nation ought to do to preserve our constitutional republic for the rising generation. This responsibility of patriotic citizenship is found in the preamble of our Constitution, which states, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." I make no apology for my understanding that God caused this nation to rise, and that it was by his providence that it became great, the greatest nation on earth. A nation destined to be the beacon of hope and the bulwark of freedom for his children everywhere. A nation destined to proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. A nation destined throughout its history, in many conflicts and at the cost of the lifeblood of its citizens, to preserve the liberty and freedom of many nations, tongues, and people. I make no apology for my understanding that it was God in his infinite wisdom that raised up the founding fathers to establish our constitutional republic. It was through his divine providence and inspiration that its founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, were written. It is from him that we receive our unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property. It must be understood that our unalienable rights come from our God and not from earthly governments. Because if government has the power and the ability to bestow our unalienable rights, then government has the power to rescind those rights. From 1620, when our Pilgrim Fathers first stepped on Plymouth Rock, through the turbulent establishment of this nation and the terrible crucible of civil war, and on into the first part of the 20th century, this nation honored this knowledge and the God who caused it to happen. If you agree with my premise that he established this nation, it necessarily follows, then, that those who would oppose his will to the destruction of our constitutional republic are in league with some other power. I will leave it to you to decide who or what that power is. The rising generations can only learn and know of our unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property we the people have received from God if patriotic citizens in our homes and churches teach them. It is a fact that the progressive and socialist left have nothing but disdain for the learning of our founding fathers. It is they who have adopted the atheistic philosophy of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels' Communist Manifesto, and Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. It is they who first subverted the education of the university beginning in the early 1900s. It is they who now in the 21st century, through their minions and fellow travelers, the National Education Association and the National Teachers Federation, seek to subvert the education of our children through the curricula of high schools and the elementary schools. Have you ever considered what our founding fathers read and studied that made them wise enough to create the greatest government and nation on earth? Have you ever considered what books they would have recommended that we, the people, study to gain an understanding of man and mankind, of philosophy and God, of politics and government, of freedom and bondage? A short list might have included the following as it relates to our constitutional republic. Plato, the dialogues of Plato. Aristotle, happiness and the political association. Algernon Sidney, discourses concerning government. John Locke, concerning human understanding and concerning civil government. Charles II, Baron de Montesquieu, the Spirit of Laws. William Blackstone, Commentaries on the Laws of England. Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, the Holy Bible. We, of course, have no definite proof of what the Founding Fathers read, except for quotes and threads of thought in their writings. Quotes and ideas of the authors on the above reading list permeate their personal papers, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and both the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers. One thing is clear: our Founding Fathers were well read and educated. In one review of the writings of our Founding Fathers, compared to the available printed books and articles of their day, it was determined that 1 in 3, a third of their citations, came from one source, the Bible. So what did this background give them? If we charted the political spectrum of the Founding Fathers, we would have a continuum with 100% government tyranny or ruler's law on the left, and complete anarchy or no law on the right, with people's law in the middle. Generally speaking, the Founding Fathers likely fell to the right of the center on this continuum, with Jefferson to the right of Hamilton and Madison, the father of the Constitution, being more centrist than either of them. The first effort of our Founding Fathers at governance, the Articles of Confederation, was libertarian in form. The Articles proved ineffectual because the national government had little power internally between the several states and externally in the community of nations. So they came together again to form a more perfect union and grant the federal government more power. This is why we have a constitutional republic, which is aptly described as just right of center. They believed and understood that. 1, as they stated in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that government derives their just powers from the consent of the governed. 2, all civil societies need some government for the good of the community or state. 3, man was entitled to be free within the society as long as he did not interfere with the freedom of his neighbor. 4, men give up freedom as their society moves from anarchy towards tyranny. 5, government left in the hands of one person, monarch, autocrat, or dictator, or a small group of persons, aristocracy or oligarchy, were capricious and subject to the whims of the rulers. That the rulers could be either despot or benevolent was true, but they were nevertheless rulers and treated their subjects as chattel and all property within their realm as theirs. 6, government by written law was preferable to either extreme, the whims of the rulers or absence of law altogether. It is for these reasons that our Founding Fathers first established the United States loosely under the Articles of Confederation, and then more strongly in a more perfect union as a constitutional republic. It took them 11 years, from 1776 to 1787, to find a balance between tyranny and anarchy. This balance was and is the Republican form of government guaranteed by Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution. A government established of the people, by the people, for the people, where men were free but subject to law under a constitution. It is well known that power corrupts, and that absolute power corrupts absolutely. For this reason, our founding fathers placed within our Constitution a system of checks and balances based upon two concepts of separation of powers. These concepts have become known as the horizontal and vertical separation of powers. Horizontally, they separated the government into three branches: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. Vertically, they separated the government into the federal, state, local, and the individual citizen, we the people. Along with the great minds that they had studied, our founding fathers found these concepts of separations of power also in Anglo-Saxon law and the Judeo-Christian principles. This is why we the people must apply God's holy word and the Constitution in refuting any attempt to undermine the Judeo-Christian principles we know to be true concerning our God, our family, and our country. We the people must, as Paul said to the Ephesians, put on the whole armor of God, that we may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, who would destroy not only we the people's freedom, but the freedom of all mankind. Most importantly, we must do all that is in our power to build a foundation of devotion to freedom and liberty in the hearts and minds of our posterity, which is unshakable. We the people must do all that is in our power to teach everyone, particularly our posterity, concerning the blessings of liberty, which are theirs by virtue of their citizenship in our constitutional republic. As President Ronald Reagan taught, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. This is the only means by which we the people can secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Teaching our posterity and others, this is a patriot's responsibility. May God bless and save the United States of America, our constitutional republic. This has been part one of a video series entitled A Patriot's Responsibility, which was created in an effort to inform patriotic citizens of some of their responsibilities by virtue of their citizenship in our constitutional republic. In part two, I will cover the topic involvement.